So today I'm going to be talking a little bit about this game, breaking it down a little bit and talking a little bit as well about the kind of tactics that Italy used to try slow down Caitlin Clark. And in fairness, it worked and it didn't. It simultaneously worked and didn't work. What teams are doing, they did what Puerto Rico are doing. So, and this is one of these weird things where it's like, especially if you are on the American side of basketball, teams will gladly let you, if you are playing at the international level, they will let you ISO your way to a win. They will do that because realistically, everything becomes process based. When you're coaching at this level, everything becomes process based. And you saw they were willing to let Chelsea Gray ISO them to a loss. They'd be willing to let Paige Bueckers, as an elite of an isolation scorer as Paige Bueckers is, they would be fine with Paige Bueckers ISOing to a win. They're okay with that. They don't really care if Paige Bueckers are ISOing. What these teams do care about is, if you watch the last couple of minutes in this game when it opened up, when the game opens up, even the first few possessions when Caitlin came onto the floor, when the game is opening up, these teams don't necessarily care about Caitlin shooting step back threes. They don't. They don't care. They don't even necessarily care that much about Caitlin shooting catch. Well, they don't want anyone to shoot threes. What they want is that it is the tempo. It is the tempo that Caitlin Clark can bring, and that is what will make USA unstoppable. If USA are able to play at a fast tempo with Caitlin Clark on the floor, no team can catch them, and they all know that. But if you're able to slow down the game, which if you guys didn't notice, early on in the game, Caitlin Clark was plus 17, and the rest of the team was, in the first half, Caitlin Clark was plus 18. The rest of the team was plus 2. Like, they were plus 2 in the 10 minutes Caitlin Clark didn't play. They were plus 18 in the 10 minutes she did play. Second half, they were plus 7 when she didn't play. They were plus 8 or plus 7 or plus 8, 9 when she did play. Didn't really make that much of a difference in the second half because they went into a zone in the second half. And it is very clear that these teams are trying to, the way that a lot of these teams go about it and way they're going about their defense is they're trying to cut the head off the snake. They are willing to let Chelsea Gray ISO. You can see they were fine with Chelsea Gray ISOing one-on-one as much as she was scoring. They were fine with Paige Bueckers ISOing one-on-one. And ironically, if you look at it here, Paige Bueckers' 8 shots to 12 points was efficient. 11 points from 7 shots. Really efficient. Chelsea Gray, really efficient. As was Paige. But, they're willing to let that happen. Teams are okay with that. Teams are okay if Chelsea Gray goes hero ball because it slows down the tempo. They're willing to let any other player. They're willing to let Kelsey Plum do what she wants because it slows down tempo. When Caitlin Clark dribbled in and shot that fadeaway pull-up mid-range or a fadeaway elbow shot, they're willing to let her do that. The teams are setting up in a soft press, so that Caitlin has to pass the ball out of her hands. And when Caitlin gets it back, it's in the half-court set. It's in a half-court set. They are forcing Team USA into the half-court. And it's one of the reasons why a lot of the men's teams have really struggled at times, is that they've struggled in the half-court offensive sets. It's why some Team USA teams lose, because teams are able to slow them down in the men's. And over the years, they've lost games with teams slowing them down and Team USA having no half-court offense. And that is the thing where it's like, Caitlin Clark is just another player in a zone offense. Like, with zone offense, you're pass. You can't, unless USA go, we're just running plays for Caitlin all the time. Against a zone, we're running quick hitters for Caitlin. A lot of the time, Caitlin's just going to be a passenger. And we saw that. We saw bits of that. And then we also saw to start the game when she came in first, and we saw the last 3 or 4 minutes when the game opened up and Caitlin Clark just takes over. It is a coaching tactic. Coaches will risk anyone else scoring as long as Caitlin Clark isn't able to dominate the ball. And this isn't a pure thing that's happening in FIBA. It's going to happen in the WNBA, but it's very different in the WNBA because, for example, if you're trying to deny Caitlin Clark the ball, cool. The Indiana Fever, Stephanie White doesn't, but a good coach, Stephanie White's not a good coach. A coach that is good for a team with Caitlin Clark on it realistically is running some sort of an action to get her the ball back and taking advantage of the gravity she has instead of telling her to play decoy. And the thing is, a lot of time in these zones, a lot of the time in a lot of these presses, Caitlin is going to play decoy on Team USA. And she's going to have to play decoy. And there's going to be stretches of games where she's going to have to play decoy. And this team has too much talent to lose if Caitlin plays decoy. Like, they do. They've got way too much talent to lose a game if Caitlin Clark is out there playing decoy for any period of time. Because 4v4, if the decoy ends up leading to open shots for Kelsey Plum, if it ends up leading to open shots for Paige Bueckers, if it ends up leading to open shots for Stewie, for Angel Wilson, for any of these players, like Team USA coaching staff are going to be okay with that. And that's the thing where it's like, there's no player on this Team USA team that has gravity outside of Caitlin Clark. They are willing to let Chelsea Gray do what she wants. They're willing to let Paige Bueckers do what she wants. Because Paige, and by the way, that is a scary thing. That, like, teams have to game plan for Caitlin. And by game planning for Caitlin means letting the likes of Chelsea Gray and Paige Bueckers just shot create at will. And Kalia Copper shot create at will. Because they know that they can, not that they can beat USA, because if USA don't, I said this, if USA don't bullshit, I literally said at the start of the game, if USA go with proper rotations, they win no matter what. Even if they do hockey subs and they don't bullshit, they win. But I was like, if they go hockey subs and they bullshit, they might lose. And they took this game seriously and they went with proper rotations. So yeah. I know their minutes seemed the same, but like it wasn't the same. It wasn't just 5 on, 5 off. Like they let Caitlin play 10 minutes straight and 12 minutes straight to get into rhythm. Like they took it a bit more seriously in that regard. But it's very clear that the only player that these teams feel like they have a puncher's chance against America if America's offense is iso ball. But they feel like if they allow Caitlin Clark to just dictate the game, it's over. It's very, very clear. The last two teams, when they're okay with whatever the fuck Chelsea Gray wants to do, whatever Paige Bueckers wants to do. And by the way, that's scary for these teams, that it's like, they give themselves a puncher's chance, but like they're relying on Paige Bueckers going 1 for 15 and Chelsea Gray missing and Copper missing and Ryan Howard chucking bricks. They're relying on all of that happening because they know that, because the difference is, like, in that scenario, it is whoever makes the most shots. And Italy are probably saying, look, with the sets that we run, with the structure we have, we're going to get better quality looks. It gives us a puncher's chance. If Caitlin Clark is dictating the tempo, dictating the play, the looks that USA are getting are not these crazy dribble pull-ups that Chelsea Gray and Paige are hitting that are exceptional. Not these pull-up threes from Ryan Howard. If Caitlin is allowed to run the show and they're allowed to run it fast, you're literally looking at like wide open shots, wide open layups being generated, and then suddenly that 93 points turns into 123. Like it's over. It becomes over. And still, if USA played against Puerto Rico, Italy could have won. Italy could have won the game if USA played like they did against Puerto Rico. And they just stepped up big time. And it's just one of those things where we saw it with the coach again. The coach, and it was very different because we saw in that fourth quarter, even in the zone, Caitlin Clark deciding she was going to run some pick and rolls, especially when Mo Billings came onto the floor. She was going and getting those screens coming off Mo Billings, even in the zone. Even in the zone, running some sort of a pick and roll, forcing some sort of movement was allowing them to get some open looks. At least it was getting interior touches on people rolling downhill. You were looking at one pass. You were looking at passes, cuts. And then in the last couple of minutes of the game, we saw the Caitlin Clark shooting the fadeaway, and then we saw Paige Bueckers get a tip. Caitlin Clark coming out with the ball, and then Caitlin Clark throwing like one dribble, the unbelievable bounce pass right to Paige Bueckers for a layup. Like, you're seeing that type of tempo. And like that type of tempo got them +7 in the last 2 minutes of that game. these teams know they can't live with US. They're not as athletic as USA. They can't live with USA with this tempo. It's why you see it again in the men's side. When USA have lost, it's because they've turned it into a half-court game. And you're seeing it now with the zone, is that a lot of this team, Italy team, thought, okay, Puerto Rico's zone was successful. They made it, as Caitlin Clark would say, a clunky game. And maybe we can turn it into that type of game. We have a puncher's chance. But today, Chelsea was hitting her shots. Paige was hitting her shots. Copper was hitting her shots. Caitlin was hitting her shots. Whereas yesterday, a lot of them weren't. And it's just, okay. Other than Paige, obviously. And it's like, okay, we're just going to lose. But the fact is that every one of these teams every one of these teams believes the only way they give themselves a puncher's chance is by taking Caitlin Clark out of the game. And they are willing to let anyone else beat them. And by the way, that doesn't mean that, Caitlin Clark is the greatest player in the world. But I said this during stream, and I mean this. In an open game where it's fast paced and it's a freaking almost like a tennis match where it's just up, down, up, down, up, down. And a lot of quick scores are being made. Both teams are making a couple of mistakes, and it's like a lot of aggressive mistakes where both teams are going for it. Caitlin Clark's the best player in the world in that type of a game. And Italy knows, just like Spain will know, they don't have the players to play that type of a game. And my biggest problem with Team USA is that they are turning it into a slow it down game. They're trying to X's and O's, and I just think they should just brute force it. I think they should brute force it, because when it comes to the Olympics, they might have to brute force it. And ironically, France want to play up tempo, so France aren't going to slow them down. But I think they got to get more used to playing up tempo, because that's what's going to get them to beat France. Because if they're playing slow and doing all this, and then France start running, they might fucking lose, because France are insane.